you on a dark or empty path seeking answers. Watch this video exposing the dark lies deceiving many to the
truth. Ayin and Pey. Now there's a reason why I'm combining these two letters, and you're going to see why we're combining these two letters as we get further into the teaching. These correlate with each other. They're both a gateway. Okay, now let's get into this. The ancient Hebrew alphabet. We keep seeing this but repetition. It's just repetition here, but this is the pictograph Hebrew, what they saw in the very beginning in Genesis forward, and this is what they saw, just pictures. This is the middle script. It would have been the script that Yahweh Messiah would have used, and or wrote or read. This is the modern Hebrew, or what we call the block Hebrew. It's also called the post-Babylonian script because it came that was used after the Babylonian captivity. And this is what we see today. This is what they read when they read and write Hebrew. This is what they see right here, starting with Aleph in the top right. And we are all the way through this. Aleph, Beit, Gimmel, Dalet, Hey, Wa, Zayin, Chet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samekh, and we're up to Ayin. And that's where we're going to start today. Or a Y. Ayin. This is the pictograph. This is a very sketchy looking pictograph picture of it. But you get the idea. And on the left side there, it is the block Hebrew, the modern Hebrew, the post-Babylonian script Hebrew. And we can see what the pictograph Hebrew looks like. It looks like an I, and we're going to get into that. Ayin, an I, which is what it means. The 16th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is called Ayin. The ancient way this letter is drawn agrees with the name, with the meaning of the name of the letter. Ayin in the ancient Hebrew means an eye. The picture of an eye can be seen in the ancient symbols used for this character. So Ayin means eye. The ordinal value is 16 of Ayin. Means to cherish something, like a sweet 16. Some girls, when they're younger, they have a sweet 16 party. It's to cherish something. It means all things dealing with love. There's 16 classes of priests were formed with the heads of the family of the sons of Eleazar. Let's read 1 Chronicles chapter 24, verse 4.
And there were more chief men found of the sons of Eleazar than of the sons of Ithamar, and thus were they divided. Among the sons of Eleazar there were 16 chief men of the house of their fathers, and 8 among the sons of Ithamar according to the house of their fathers.
Okay, so we see here that there were 16 class of priests from the sons of Eleazar. The gematria here for Ayin is 70. There were 70 years in Babylonian captivity. There were 70 elders of Israel. 70 sacrifices during Sukkot for the nations. There were 70 members of the Sanhedrin. The combination of two perfect numbers, 7 and 10. So we see the importance of 70 in the scripture. 70 is the number of perfect spiritual order. We know 7 is perfection and 10 is ordinal perfection. 70 people went down to Egypt from Jacob. We see over and over this number 70 in scripture. Messiah sent out 70 disciples in Luke chapter 10. The number of completion of time, according to Daniel chapter 9, is 70 years, or 70. 70% of the earth and our bodies are made up of water. That seems kind of weird if you think about that. 70% of our bodies is water if you look at us, but that is a medical fact. So we see 70% of the earth and our bodies are made up of water. This is an important number. The meaning of Ayin means to see, to understand, to witness. The inner eye, or the ruach, the spirit. It's a silent letter. It sees, but it speaks. It is one of the gateways of our body. And we're going to talk about the other gateway a little bit later on. Get to the next letter, Pey. But this is one of the gateways. What we see out of our eyes. What we see in our eyes goes into our heart. That's why it is so important that we be careful of what we look at. The scriptures say that if a man looketh on a woman to lust after her, he's committed adultery in his heart. Look at that. He looks on a woman to lust after her. You don't actually have to do the act, Messiah is saying. All he has to do is look upon her. Why? Because the eyes are our gateway to our heart. What we see, what we read, can be a gateway to our heart, whether good or bad. That's why we need to be careful what goes into our gateway, our eyes, because it goes to our heart. That's why it's a silent letter. It sees, but it doesn't speak. Believers today is that we don't know how to get rooted in Yahweh's word and stay there. We need to get rooted in Yahweh's word, to read, to see, and to read Yahweh's word. If we just read it, we need to get rooted in the word. A tree is no good if you plant a tree and the roots don't go deep, or a fruit or a vegetable in a garden. The roots need to go deep. And it's the same thing with us and Yahweh's word, that we need to get rooted and grounded in what? In Yahweh's word. We need to stay there. You don't see a tree when it's planted, like one of the trees I'm looking at outside my window here. They're rooted and grounded out there. You don't see them getting up and moving to another place. They're rooted there, and they stay there, hopefully, unless they fall over. We're praying to Yahweh that don't happen. But they stay there. And it's the same thing with us and Yahweh's word, that we need to be rooted and stay there in his word. The good eye, bad eye combination. Matthew chapter 6, verses 22 and 23, and then separately we're going to read verse 24.
Okay, verse 22. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thy eye be single, thy whole body should be full of light. But if thy eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is thy darkness? Okay,
we see here that it's talking about light and darkness. Through what? Through our eyes. Our eyes are what we see and goes to our heart. It says that if our eyes are dark, then great is that darkness, because we're not seeing and getting rooted in Yahweh's word. Verse 24.
No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Elohim and Mammon. Okay,
now, you cannot serve two masters. This is talking about two masters. We can only serve one master. We have a choice. The scripture says, "You choose ye this day." You know, we all have to come to this choice. We have two masters we can serve. We can either serve Yahweh or we can serve Satan. We can't serve them both. You can't be serving both at the same time. You have to choose. You can serve both at the same time, but the scriptures speak about that in the book, I believe it's Revelation. It said to be hot or cold. Okay, we can either be hot with Yahweh and be rooted and grounded in Yahweh, or we can be cold for Yahweh and be serving Satan. We cannot serve both. The scriptures say in Revelation, "I wish that you were hot or cold, because you are lukewarm, I will spew you out of my mouth." He doesn't want us trying to serve Yahweh and man, or the world, or Satan. Mammon there is the world. It's a type and shadow of the world. We cannot serve Yahweh and please man at the same time. To serve man at the same time. It does not work. Matthew chapter 6 verses, this is the ones we just read, I'm sorry. The sages say, the good eye, or the Ayin Tov, looks toward the letter Samekh, the one who supports, which is the last letter we did. While the evil eye looks towards the next letter that we're going to be getting into today, the Pey, or the mouth, to feed its own greed. So our good eye looks towards the Samekh. And we have an evil eye, it looks towards the next letter, which is Pey, and we'll get into that. So we have to, where is our eyes looking? Are we looking towards the one who supports? Like we spoke about last week about the walking stick and the support. We get that support through Yahweh's word by reading it and getting rooted and grounded in it. Or do we deal with Pey? The letter Ayin is used in the Hebrew words for forever or eternal, which is ad. Okay, the word picture tells us that you can continue when you see the door. Exodus chapter 15, verse 18.
Yahweh shall reign forever and ever.
Yahweh shall reign forever and ever. And it talks that this comes out from all over Scripture. In one form or another, that Yahweh is eternal, Yahweh is forever. Okay, so the ever or eternal is the word ad. Okay, also Eden or pleasant. It's a noun. Okay, the word picture tells it. The word is Eden. Okay, the word picture for Eden says that it was where you could see or experience the door of life. It could also be read as to see or to personally know the judge. Genesis chapter 2, verse 8.
And Yahweh Elohim planted a garden in the eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed.
So we see, if you read these scriptures in the book of Genesis chapter 2, he was put in the Garden of Eden. He could see or experience the door of life. He was given a choice. He was told not to eat of the tree of good and evil. He was given a choice to personally know his judge. Eden, or pleasant, means also, it also has to weep. The word for weep is tamah. The word picture describes a weeping as the blood of the eye. Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 17.
But if you will not hear, my soul shall weep in secret places for your pride, and my eye shall weep sore and run down with tears, because Yahweh's flock is carried away captive.
So we see here how it talks about to weep. to the blood of the eye, or weeping. Okay, also to hear, or to understand, or to obey. The word which means hear, to understand, or obey is shema. The word picture tells us to hear, understand, and to obey is to see the name, to understand the real nature. This would especially apply to the name of our Elohim. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4.
Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim is one Yahweh.
Okay, right here. Hear, O Israel. Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Yahweh Echad. Is it how it's said in the Hebrew? Also the word time or season. The word for time or for season is et. Seeing the signs of the seasons is spoken in Matthew chapter 16, verse 3.
And in the morning it would be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, you can discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times.
To discern the signs of the times or the seasons. Okay, now this is the first word that's used in verse 126 in Psalms chapter 119. It means to the time or the season. Et. Some other Ayin words. Ed. To witness or the testimony. Or testimony. Idah, which means testimony. Amad, which means to stand. Amud, which means pillar. Eved, which means servant. Ashah, which means to do or to work. The reality of the Hebrew is that the good eye or the generous eye changes how we see people and brings about a life of blessings. That's the reality of the Hebrew, in the Hebrew, of the good eye, or would be considered the generous eye. James chapter 3, verse 11.
Does a fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter?
We see we cannot, okay, of course, you can go back and read the rest of this chapter and get the full context of this, but a fountain does not send forth the same place sweet and bitter waters. We cannot give sweet and bitter waters, which that will lead into the next word, because you're speaking, which is pay, which is the mouth. An evil eye is like a fountain of bitter water, harsh words out of a selfish and bitter heart. A good eye is like a fountain from a generous person that will produce great friends, family, and life. So we see the contradiction here between an evil eye, bitter water, and a good eye, a good fountain of generosity. We see what a good fountain will do. Let's get into the next letter, which is pay. Now this is the pay on the right, picture of the pictograph Hebrew, and on the left you see the block Hebrew there, or the modern script or post-Babylonian script. Pay. The 17th letter of the Hebrew Aleph is called pay. The ancient way this letter was drawn agrees with the letter, the meaning of the word, name of the letter. Pei is the ancient Hebrew, means a mouth. The picture of a mouth can be seen in the ancient symbols for this character. Now you see why, if you just read that right there, you see why I combined these two letters. We had the ears and we had the mouth, the two gateways of the three gateways, I should say, of the eyes. I'm sorry, not the eyes, not the ears. The eyes and the mouth. The two gateways to our heart. 2 out of the 3. And the third one would be our ears. But we're not getting into that. But the second one is pay, a mouth. Each verse of the 17th stanza of Psalms 119 starts with the letter pay. The letter pay means a mouth or a source. And these 8 verses tell us that Yahweh's testimonies, words, commandments, and precepts impact our lives. Those who know the truth will open. The word means to gape their mouths in a sigh of longing for Yahweh's commandments. Psalms 119, verses 129 through 136.
Thy testimonies are wonderful, therefore doth my soul keep them. The entrance of thy words giveth light, it gives understanding unto the simple. I opened my mouth and panted, for I long for thy commandments. Look thou upon me, and be merciful unto me, as thou usest to do to those that love thy name. Order my steps in thy word, and let not any iniquity have dominion over me. Deliver me from the oppression of man, so will I keep thy precepts. Make thy face to shine upon thy servant, and teach me thy statutes. Rivers of water run down my eyes, because I keep not thy Torah.
Now, I never noticed that before, but that one verse in verse 135 is part of the priestly blessing also. Make your face shine upon you, your servants. It's a kind of similar to what is in the priestly blessing. Pay is where we get pie from. So if you ever have seen in pie, in school we see pie, that's where we get it from. We get it from pay. Pay is the 17th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. 17 is a prime number. 1, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, and 17 are all prime numbers. Interestingly, it is the 7th prime letter of all of those. It's made up of a 7 and a 10. 10 is the ordinal perfection, and 7 is spiritual perfection. The gematria is 80, or 80 is 8 times 10. 8 is the number of the new beginnings, and 10 is ordinal perfection. So we see the new beginnings and ordinal perfections in this letter. 80 is definitely an important number of a new governmental order of perfection. It was the age of Moses when he led them out of Egypt. Isn't that interesting? It was 80 years before he led them out of Egypt. We see the importance of the letter Pei, or the number 80. Meanings: mouth, to speak, to vocalize, to breathe, speech, to bring forth into reality through words, commandment, or appointment. So we see what the importance of the meanings are. It all has to do with vocalizing or speaking. Malachi chapter 2, verse 6.
The Torah of truth was in his mouth, and iniquity was not found in his lips. He walked with me in peace and equity, and did turn many away from iniquity.
So we see here, look at this. It says the law of truth was in his mouth. The law of the truth, the law of the Torah of Yahweh, and was in his mouth. And iniquity was not found in his lips. Because why? Because it goes back to that last letter where I said that good and evil cannot proceed from the same lips. We cannot, both of them, cannot be. Bitter and sweet word can't come from the same thing. He walked with me in peace and equity, and did turn many from iniquity. Through what? Through the law, or the Torah of truth, from coming out of his mouth. James chapter 3, verses 8 through 12.
But the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. Therewith bless we Elohim, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of Elohim. Out of the same mouth proceed blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not so to be. Doth the fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter? Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries, either a vine figs? So can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh.
Okay, so let's look at this. Let's break this down a little bit. The tongue, we were going to get into the tongue because the tongue is in the mouth. If you want to learn more about what the scriptures say about the tongue, you read the book of James. It talks all about the tongue, and here it says that it's an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. We can bless Yahweh, Elohim, and we can curse man. You see, these things ought not to be. We can out of the same mouth proceed blessings and cursings. These things should not be. These things ought not to be so. Why? Because we should not bless Yahweh and curse man. The scriptures are clear with that. Okay, and it said about a fountain that a fountain does not produce sweet and bitter waters at the same time. I am a fisherman. I go out fishing. When I go out fishing, I either fish in salt water or fresh water. I can fish in either one. But I cannot fish in both of them at the same time. Because if I go to a lake or a river or a sea or something, it's either going to be one or the other. It's either going to be salt water or it's going to be fresh water. And you have to have a license for both if they're separate. And it takes different types of fishing equipment to fish from either one. And it's the same thing here, that a fountain cannot do sweet and bitter water. You cannot fish in salt and bitter water, or fresh water at the same time. Okay, it says here that a fountain cannot, no fountain can yield both salt and fresh water. If you go to a fountain, it is either going to be salt water or fresh water. It cannot be both. The mouth, pa'ah. The Hebrew number is 6284. What does it mean? It means to cleave in pieces, to break in pieces, or to shatter. To cleave in pieces or dash to pieces. That's what we do with our mouth. When we chew food, we chew it, we cleave it, we break it down in our mouth, and then we swallow it. We can't take a big piece of steak and just swallow it. Put it in our mouth and swallow it. We would choke because our mouth breaks down that piece of steak. And it's the same thing. We need to be careful because it's the same thing in the spiritual with our mouth. We could use our mouth to break down somebody, to break somebody, or to kill somebody. Did you know you could kill somebody without even murdering them? You can kill somebody and they're not even dead, because you can kill them with your words. That's why the mouth is so important. We need to tame our mouth. And the scriptures in the book of James talk over and over again about taming the tongue. Because the tongue, we could kill a person without even killing them. Because we could kill their character. You ever go somewhere in a group of people and that someone has been talking to them about you? And what does that do? That puts a skew in their mind on you, or about you, I should say. That person has been killing your character without even killing you. That's what it's talking about, breaking into pieces or shattering. You know, you could break into pieces or shatter, destroy somebody with the mouth. Psalms chapter 37, verse 30.
The mouth of the righteous speaketh wisdom, and his tongue talketh of judgment.
The mouth of righteousness speaketh wisdom. This is what we need to we need to do. Our tongue needs to speak of wisdom and judgment and righteousness. We don't need to use our tongue to destroy somebody. We need to use it to bless Yahweh, not curse man. Proverbs chapter 31, verse 26.
She opens her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness.
Wow, look at that. In her tongue is the law or the Torah of kindness. Opens her mouth with what? Wisdom. Not bitterness, not to break down, but with wisdom. Psalms chapter 119, verse 131.
I opened my mouth and panted, for I long for thy commandments.
I opened my mouth and panted. You ever see a dog that's hot? It's been running around and it comes in and it's panting. Or it comes up to you in the yard and it's panting. Opens its mouth and it's panting. This is what he's saying here. He longs for Yahweh's commandments. Proverbs 18, verse 21.
Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof.
Okay, this goes back to the book of James. This can be correlated with the book of James, because it speaks in the book of James how we can bless Yahweh and curse man. You see, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they love it shall eat the fruit thereof. We need to be careful of our words. We can kill somebody or bless somebody. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. We need to be careful how we use our tongue. It is of the utmost importance how we use our tongue. The letter Pey is used in the Hebrew words for face or to turn. The word that means to turn, and therefore the face is panah. The word picture tells us what happens when the mouth moves is that we turn toward or face the other person. To speak to someone, you turn and face them normally. Okay, the word is used in Psalms 119, verse 132 to mean to look upon, and in verse 135 it means to face. Okay, so we see in them two scriptures, it talks about to face them. Do you have those?
Look thou upon me and be merciful unto me, as thou usest to do unto those that love thy name.
135.
Make thy face to shine upon thy servant, and teach me thy statutes.
Okay, to look upon, to look at. Normally, if you're talking to someone, you normally turn and look at them. It's considered rude if you're talking to someone and they have their back turned to you, or you have your back turned to someone and you're talking to them. I mean, unless you're like up on a ladder working something and you guys say you can't look away. I mean, there's certain situations where you wouldn't be able to look away, but normally when you're carrying on a conversation, you look upon the person you're talking to. And also astonish or to wonder. The word for miracle or wonder is pele. The word picture tells us that a miracle is so incredible that it stops the mouth. 1 Chronicles chapter 16, verse 9.
Sing unto him, sing Sing psalms unto him. Talk ye of all his wondrous works.
His wondrous works. The word wonder. Pele. Also means the word beautiful. The word beautiful is yafeh. The word picture tells us that the real beauty is revealed in the deed spoken. What you keep talking about. Genesis chapter 29 verse 17.
Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored.
Okay, we see here that Rachel was beautiful. It uses the word beautiful, yafeh. Also, the letter is in the word redeem, or to ransom, to buy back. The word that means ransom or redeem is padah. The word picture tells us that redemption is the mouth of the door when it is open. This word is used in Psalms 119, 134 to mean redeem.
Deliver me from the oppression of man, so will I keep thy precepts.
To redeem or to deliver, to redeem, to buy back. Okay? The letter Pey is related to the word pa, which means the mouth, which means mouth. It's the first word in Psalms 119, verse 131. The mouth becomes pi, or my mouth. I opened my mouth wide and panted, for I longed for your commandments. So we see here the word Pey, or pa. Some other Hebrew words with Pey. Pey is the 17th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It means mouth. Or Pey, patak means to open. Notice all these here, how they have to do with the mouth or to open. Patak, which means an opening or a door. Peyar, which means an opening, open wide, or a gaping. Per means to break, or to crush, or lot. Parax means to burst. Parad means to disperse. Paras means to break or to scatter. Pazar means to scatter. Pitham means suddenly. Panim means face. Panel means the face of Yahweh. Para means fruitful. Parousia means coming or present. And then we have Purim, which means lot or the feasts. Purim is the actual Hebrew holiday, the Feast of Purim, or the Feast of Lots. All these are related to the lips that move, that will break open the word of Yahweh in your life, or it'll break open Satan in your life. You see, that's why where we get back to that bitter and sweet. You see, we can open the words of Yahweh in our life, or open the words of Satan in our life. We have to be careful. That's why it says to be careful of your words. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. What do we want? Do we want the power of Yahweh, Yahweh's word in our life? Or do we want the power of Satan in our life? I'm sure we don't want the power of Satan in our life. We want the power of Yahweh. When you sin with your mouth, it's one of the most dangerous things. Why? Why is that? Proverbs chapter 18, verse 19.
A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle.
Okay, we see here why. Why it is. It's because a brother, if you offend a brother, It's harder to be won than a strong city. It's hard if you offend a brother to win them back. You need to go out of your way to extend yourself to reconcile with that person, that brother or sister, whoever it happens to be. So we see here that brother or offender is harder to be won than a strong city. That's why when you sin with your mouth, it's one of the most dangerous things. You can put someone in bondage with your mouth. One negative word can crush the heart and soul of a person. So we need to be careful as to what we say. Have you ever had a marriage relationship? And your marriage is going great. And then the husband and the wife get into a disagreement. And the husband or the wife say something that crushes that other person, their spouse. Okay? Crushes the heart of that person. They might say, I don't love you anymore. Or I want a divorce, or something like that. That the word spoken can crush the heart of that other person. That's why we have to be careful of our tongue. But then again, it could bring someone that has been crushed back to life. You see, we can speak as somebody's been crushed, and this is where marriage counseling and pastoral counseling comes in, that Yahweh uses that to bring someone who has been crushed, who is down, back to life. They can speak to the words of Yahweh to that person and bring them back to life, to lift them back up again. So it can work either way. But normally, we need to be careful of our words. It was by the word of Yahweh that the universe came into existence. Yahweh spoke it, and it happened. That's the way it happened. There's no Big Bang Theory where this cosmic explosion happened. No. Yahweh spoke it, and it happened. It was by the word of Yahweh Messiah that Lazarus was raised from the dead. Because if you read the story, he says, Lazarus, arise. Okay? He's told him by the words of Yahweh Messiah, Lazarus rose up. And by words, we have instructions. And this is both true in the natural and the spiritual. Because we have words in our natural that instruct us. And then we have the spiritual, which is Yahweh's word, which instructs us further. Okay? And instructs us how to live for Yahweh. Everything that proceeds out of the mouth, everything proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh. Everything proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh. When you're leaning on the word, Ayin, the last letter, or the letter before that I should say, of Yahweh, He'll give you perfect insight, which is Ayin. Notice, leaning on the word of Yahweh, Ayin, gives perfect insight. When you have perfect insight, Ayin, that is when you can speak Pey into someone's life through your mouth. Pey. So we see here how these letters, Ayin and Pey, are connected. If you don't have perfect sight, Ayin, seeing a person the way Yahweh sees them, then you don't need to speak into their life. You'll destroy them. Catch this. If you don't have perfect sight in Yahweh's word and seeing someone the way Yahweh sees them, you should not speak into their life. If Yahweh's not speaking to them, you should not speak to them. If Yahweh is, you say, Yahweh's given me this, and it's not Yahweh, you don't need to speak it. Because you can destroy a person. You don't want to destroy the person, you want to lift them up. We need to be careful. In conclusion, the mouth is used for a source of a river or the opening of a well. The mouth is used for a source of a river. That's how, of course, when we eat or we drink something, that's where the water first goes into our mouth, or the whatever liquid it happens to be. And it's the opening of a well. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 11.
The mouth of a righteous man is a well of life, but violence covers the mouth of the wicked.
Wow, look at that. The mouth of a righteous man is a well of life. Wow. Violence covers the mouth of the wicked. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 7.
A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are a snare, or the snare of his soul.
A fool's mouth. A person who is foolish in their mouth and their speaking is destruction. Is his destruction. And his lips are a snare to his soul. He can destroy himself with his own words. That's why Scripture says there's life and death in the power of the tongue. You know, you can actually destroy someone else with your words, but you can actually destroy yourself also. That's why it's so important that we watch what we say. Matthew chapter 15, verse 11. And we're closing with this.
Not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which comes out of the mouth, this defiles a man. Okay,
if you have time, go back and read starting in verse 8 in this and get the full context of what is being said here. It's not what goes into the mouth that defiles a man. Okay? It's not what we eat that defiles us. It's what comes out of our mouth. That's why we can destroy somebody with our words. Okay, that is the end of this lesson today, lesson 14, Ayin and Pey.
Learning Channel thanks you for watching this video. We hope you were edified by this content. Reach out to us with the information provided on screen, or you may click on the links to view more of our videos. Please subscribe to be notified of new uploads. Until next time, Shalom.